This week on the Digital Marketing Scoop, we are talking about podcasting. If you're thinking of starting a podcast, have just started one, or are running your own podcast, you're going to get a lot of value from this week's episode. Hope you enjoy it. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop. So this week we're going to be talking about tips to successfully start up and run your own podcast. So before we kind of jump into the tips, I suppose the first thing to kind of be aware of is who are you starting this podcast for? Is it yourself? Is it just something fun that you want to do? Do you want to build your brand? I always say there's three things you need to do with a podcast, or at least one of these three things. You need to help, educate, or entertain your audience. So with our podcast here, for example, we try and give out good information around digital marketing that's going to help people. In turn, that helps us establish us as experts in the industry, and it helps us build our brand. But it's really important. I think you kind of have to hit one of those. Am I going to help people? Am I going to give them information? Am I going to be in the educational space, educating people about particular topics? Or am I going to be entertaining people, comedy, whatever it might be, storytelling? They're kind of really, I think, the three things. Once you hit one of those, you're onto a winner. So think about your audience, and think about, are you going to hit one of those for your audience? So I suppose the easiest way from my point of view to talk about it is the experience. It's helped our business over the past year. And for me, obviously, it's a huge amount of content.
Yes.
It's audio content. It's video content.
Yeah, we video our podcast.
Dave is diligently behind the camera at the moment. Cameras. Audio content, video content, and of course you can chop it all up then into all smaller clips for all your social media content. So the way I look at it is one core piece of content that you can use to keep all your social media profiles active all the time. Social media is how you're going to drive an awful lot of people to your podcast. You want to pull out the clips that are going to grab people's attention and post those to social media and drive those people to your podcast. So whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it might be, and drive them to subscribe from there. So take your clips, grab them with the clips you feel are going to be the most attention grabbing, and use those clips to drive them to your podcast platform. If you're doing a weekly podcast, you have so much content for your YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, whatever you're on. You can, from just one podcast, get so much content from
brilliant,
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, why would you want to do that? Well, do you want your brand to develop your brand? Do you want your brand to be in front of hundreds, thousands of people every week?
Yeah, because we reach globally.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
That's the funny thing. When you look in the stats, you see the amount of people, in the US and Australia.
Everywhere. We're like, oh.
So it is, and that doesn't mean if you're just a local business you shouldn't do it either, because it's still content.
Yeah, we still have loads of local people listening
the vast majority is Irish.
Yeah, and you can become the industry leader. Then you can position yourself as that industry leader because you are providing all this content and information to your customers, or just people who are listening who might know someone who is a potential customer. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's getting that word of mouth as well going.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's just. It's a great way, as you say. Position yourself as the expert, make you the authority figure, in your industry. Creates kind of a nice community as well. Like you can see in the stats. When the podcast goes out on Thursday, there's always like this spike. There's people who diligently kind of listen to it every week.
Yeah, they're waiting for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you do create this kind of some bit of loyalty or community around your brand.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's also extremely important
as well. Like we're consistent every Thursday, so then they trust us to have it out every Thursday, and it builds that trust with our brand as well as the podcast.
You have to be so consistent. If you're a weekly podcast, you are putting podcast out every single week. You might hit one episode, one topic, all of a sudden you have a massive jump in growth. Maybe that one was going to be on week 15. You just have to be consistent. As long as you're doing that, as long as you're help educating or entertaining your audience, just be consistent. They're going to expect you there every week or every second week, whatever kind of time period you decide to do your podcast in. But the key really is consistency. If you drop off for a couple of months and then you come back, you're potentially going to lose a lot of your audience. And obviously, the more consistent you are and the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, the easier it's going to get. So plan it out. But the key really is consistency. Because as soon as you stop being consistent, that's when it's like, might do an episode here, I might do an episode there, and it really doesn't work that way. You have to really be on point and consistent with your episodes.
You have to keep going. It's a longer term game.
Yeah, it 100% is. So don't get disheartened if you're 20, 30 podcasts in and the numbers are tiny. Think of it as, oh my God, these people I've talked to that I wouldn't have talked to before. Yeah. Or all this content I've created.
All the content, exactly.
That you can reuse forever and ever and ever.
That's it.
So I definitely wouldn't, don't worry about your podcast numbers. Don't worry about the reach. Don't worry about the downloads. Yeah. Just keep the consistency going. The numbers will hopefully come with time. Yeah. But if they do or don't, there's so much value you're giving people with your podcast. That's going to come back in a really positive way for your brand. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please jump into your Apple Podcasts, your Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcast platform is, and just make sure to follow and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to leave a review if you enjoyed the episode, I'd absolutely love for you to do that. We put out an episode every single week, all with digital marketing tips, case studies, ways to build your business with digital marketing. Also, if you are interested in bringing your own business online or looking at scaling your business, we'd love to chat with you here at CLIQ. You can visit us online at CLIQ.ie.